Hello and welcome to the morning Rabble. As you can see, it's a rare morning that we've got more than one person with us. So we're joined by Kerr and Martin. How's it going, guys?
All good. All good.
Not
Right.
too bad at all.
Good stuff.
He doesn't sound very happy, Wally, does he?
No, I'm
He
never
does.
happy, Martin. I'm a glass half full kind of person, as you know.
That's not a bad thing sometimes. Sometimes it's better to be like that.
I would say Kerr's more a free halves full kind of guy.
Aye, maybe. Worth 20 million.
But all right, we'll jump onto the subject in hand. I see somebody else actually stole what I was going to talk about this morning. We'll not talk about who actually spoke about exactly the same thing that we're going to speak about, because I had this pod set up last night and for some reason somebody's spoke about exactly the same subject that we're about to. So I think
That's not
something
nice.
a hand here, shocking. And you know who we're talking about, Rangers Review. So straight into the Malik Tillman chat. Obviously, if anybody's seen him this year, they'll know how good a player he's been for us. I'll just touch on some of the things that he's done in his career so far. He obviously joined the club in the summer on a loan deal with the opportunity to purchase in the summer, and Bayern also have the opportunity to buy him back once we buy him, if that makes sense. I know it sounds a bit silly, but that's obviously part of the deal. He has played for Germany at under 15, 16, 17s, 20s and 21s, but then he switched allegiance to play for the United States of America, where I think he's got 4 caps, if I've read it right online. He turns 21 in May this year, so pretty much by the end of the season, he'll be 21 years old. If you look at his sort of average for sort of goals per game, going through the kind of Bayern Academy through to obviously playing for Rangers, he averages a goal every 3 to 4 games, which is pretty good going for a person that's not really what you would consider a striker. You know, he kind of plays off the front in a lot of games, so to have that average of 3 or 4, a goal every 3 or 4 games is pretty good going. And also, anybody that watched us earlier on in the season, he played a huge part in Rangers making the Champions League, having scored against Union, and then obviously he set up the goal in Eindhoven that sent us through to the Champions League. Kerr, I'll come to you first on Malik. Obviously, I've put in the title, what does the future hold for Malik Tillman? What would you like to see happen? And is the fee that's been quoted, 5 or 6 million, really good value for money when you look at what Malik brings to the team?
I think it is a lot of money for Rangers, but it is good value for money because of what we're getting. We're getting a guy who we all know the potential he's got. We all know what he's offering at the moment, but we all can see the ceiling is very high with Malik, so he's going to get better, and that's entirely up to him how good he's going to be. But no, I think it's we see how much the manager wants him in. I think the fans are the same. I think there was a wee bit at the start we were somewhere 50-50, thinking is he worth that? Is he's quite lazy, he's this, he's that, but he's still a young boy, he's developing, and there's more positives in Malik at the moment than there is negatives. So I think as a club, if the money's been ring fenced, whatever, then it's a no-brainer, you bring him in, because I think we're going to see the best of him before we can maybe punt him on for more than we buy him for. I know folk don't like to hear that, but as a business at the end of the day, and if we can bring him in for a couple of seasons, developing to be more better than the player he is, and then selling for more to reinvest, then that's a win-win for Rangers.
Yeah, look, it's hard to disagree with any of that, to be honest. I'll come to you, Martin. I know this is weird, like me asking you questions, because it's obviously normally the other way around, but like, I suppose it's quite strange when you look at Malik. He's obviously been like well known in Germany to play for Germany, as I say, 15s, 16s, 17s, 20s, and making it into their under 21s. In Germany, obviously has a vast array of talent. So to make it up to that level and still be playing, you know, for the German national team before he chose America, obviously the ability was always there. But see, when we signed him in the summer, what did you think that we were going to get for somebody like Malik Tillman?
I'd never heard of him. So it was one of those, I'd never heard of the guy. It's one of those ones, you know, you've not got a clue what you're going to get. It was very evident very early, very quickly, that you've seen that this young guy had all the talent in the world for me. See, one of these things, this is one of these ones that a player of his ability, what he's done at youth level, if he goes to a team in England, if Malik, with the reputation that he had, went to a Crystal Palace or went to a Southampton when we signed him and they were just buying him outright, you're talking 10, 15 million straight away, easily, for a player of his calibre. So initially my thoughts were, who is he? What's this boy done? I've never heard him before. And then within 2 or 3 games, I went, we have a player. We have a proper outstanding player. He plays the way he's played for us. If he plays like that for Bayern, you're getting him for 20, 25 million already. That's the type of player that he is. So people are talking about, and like Kerr says, look, Rangers as a business, is the 5 million worth it for him? Well, of course, when you go to sell any player from Scotland, the price is automatically knocked down. Of course it is. But there is no doubt in my mind that we sign him, we sell him for X amount of millions of pounds. There's no debate around whether Rangers should sign Tillman at the end of the season. The debate is, does Tillman want to stay at Rangers at the end of the season? That's the big question for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point you bring up, obviously talking about like the English teams and the money they pay. If you look at somebody like Southampton, they obviously signed several players from Manchester City's under-21 team. So I think they signed like the goalkeeper for about £14 million. I know he'd been out on loan, I think it was at Portsmouth, but they paid about £14 million for him. They signed Romeo Lavia, who was only 18 at the time. I think they paid about £12 million for him. I'm just looking at some of the stuff online. They signed Samuel Edozie for Manchester City's under-21s. I mean, what a summer recruitment drive that was. Let's just watch Manchester City's under-21s and sign half the team. They paid £8 million for him. And Juan Larios was signed for £7 million. So if you add that together, they gave Manchester City over £40 million for 4 players who were basically in their academy system, which is absolutely crazy. So you're spot on what you're saying. Like, for us to pay 5 or 6 million for Malik right now, when you look at what he's bringing to this team, it's an absolute no-brainer.
It's peanuts, William. It's buttons. It's £5 million in football today wouldn't get you one of Chelsea's players' socks.
I know, mate, and that's the ludicrous nature of where Scottish football is in comparison to England. Michael's talking about what is Bayern's buyback clause, right? None of this has ever been put out into the public. However, at the time when the news broke that Malik was obviously coming to the club in loan, I think the figures quoted were that Rangers would have to pay between 5 and 6 million for him. But I don't know if that included the loan fee that Rangers potentially are paying this season to have him. So it might be €1 million for the season plus €5 million at the end of the season. And then I think the buyback clause was quoted to be around about €10 million. So basically, if that's the case, Rangers could pay the 5 million in the summer, which would be a €6 million outlay for him. But then straight away, Bayern could say, well, no, we want to take him back, and they give Rangers €10 million. So Rangers would actually make a potential €4 million profit and not actually have to do anything. Whether that happens, I think, a lot of these things up into a lot of contracts now, so I don't know if that would happen. And when you look at, Bayern Munich are out taking, the boy Cancelo in loan with a 60 or 70 million euro buy clause, I think it's fair to say that Malik's future probably is away from Bayern. But I think in terms of the fee, it seems like a no-brainer to me to pay that money. I'll come to you.
Remember, William, just be very, very careful in every single word that you say, otherwise you might end up on a Celtic Facebook page.
I did notice the guy had quoted you again, the guy that had pulled us up previously, so I thought that was quite interesting. But I mean, look, see, at the end of the day, every football fan's got the right to his opinion in terms of evaluation of a player. I mean, some of the evaluations that ex-footballers have put out there on certain players that play for certain football clubs has been beyond ludicrous. I mean, I think one of the funniest ones that I've seen in a long time was the guy in Cham, the French midfield player that Celtic had, and I think they were quoting him at 20 or 30 million. Celtic had to terminate the guy's contract. Do you know what I mean? And he ended up leaving for nothing. So a lot of things that are said are just chatter. And see, at the end of the day...
Do you not remember, William, a certain Mr. Hartson quoted a certain centre-back at 50 million?
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, it's different. If you've got an opinion, that's obviously funny to somebody. But if an ex-professional footballer has that same opinion, then it's deemed to be, sort of accurate to a point.
There's credence to it, yeah.
Aye, exactly. So that's how I just laugh at a lot of those things. But I'll come to you, Kerr, on a similar point to Martin, see after you'd seen him for, say, the first 6 or 8 games of the season, including the European games, obviously, has your opinion changed on Malik, or were you still unsure about us paying like the potential money that's obviously been quoted?
I was unsure just because I was desperate for Alec Lowry to come through. So I thought Malik might block his progress. And that's the reason I was unsure. It was nothing to do with Malik. It was just because I wanted Alec to get a chance in the side. But the more I've seen Tillman over the season, I want him to stay. Do you know that way? It was just at the start where I thought that's a lot of money for us as they're blocking away for Alec. And then I thought the more I've seen him, the more I see him getting involved and he's improving game by game. And he's got other attributes that he can add to his side, as in he's physical, he's tall, he can not just create, his defensive work is getting better, and I'm thinking, no, he'd be a really good player for us long term. So it's changed, but at the start, I was 50-50 just because I thought he was blocking the way for young Alec coming through, because I like to see, like yourself, I was desperate for somebody to come into the first side. Not because it was because I just thought Alec had the potential to be a first team starter. I thought he had it. I thought Leon had it, and Charlie McCann and Cole McKinnon, they were the 4. And obviously Charlie's away, Cole's out and low, and Leon's not been playing, so I was wanted Alec in the side, and that was the reason. It was nothing to do with Malik, but now obviously the more you see him, the more the goals he's chipping away with, and the assists and his overall gameplay, you think, no, 5 million's a good price for a boy. We need to get him in. So my opinion has changed.
Yeah, I'll touch on one of the comments that Hughes was saying. He's saying, William, that's wrong. Bayern have the first buyback option. Well, I think that's what I said, mate, because Rangers would have to buy him before Bayern could buy him back, because he's Bayern's player right now. So
don't let Bayern wanted to buy their own player.
Aye, so that's what we're saying. Also, the earliest they could sign Malik back would be this summer, obviously, if we decided to sign him. Obviously, they could, I mean, I don't know how long the buyback option sits for. It could be for a year, it could be the whole term of the contract. But like the way that it was worded coming out of Germany, it was that if Rangers decided to take up the purchase option, which is there in the summer, Bayern could literally the next day, or even the same day, say to Rangers, well, no, if you pay that money, that's fine, but we're going to buy him back. However, it could be that if Malik signs a contract with Rangers, that Bayern would have this first option buyback inserted into the contract, and it could be that runs for the term of his time at Rangers.
Well, I heard it was between 20 and 25 million. That was the rumoured tweet I was hearing about. But William, see, since you're on, actually, Scott brought up the point, and I think this is going to be something that's discussed countless times, whether it's Alex Lowry, whether it's Cole McKinnon, whether it's Aaron Lyle, by the way. I'm telling you all, keep an eye out. I keep saying it. I keep repeating myself. I absolutely think that boy's fantastic. But I think this might be a full show debate on itself, right? Yeah. But if we just discuss it quickly, well, now a lot of people have said if we bring in Raskin, if we bring in Cantwell, if we bring in Tillman, it's stunting then progression from the B team, right? Which I think is absolutely true, right? However, if we bring in a Tillman, right, and he goes on to perform amazing, does it matter for Rangers if that then stunts the progress of, say, a Lowry? Because we don't know how good a Lowry can become, right? And there's no saying that Lowry is going to be anywhere near what Tillman is, because they're roughly the same age, and Michael Beale's looking at them both. So if Beale says, no, Tillman, he's in my first team because he's a better player than Alex Lowry, does the stunting of Lowry coming through really matter if we're buying in players of better quality?
Yeah, look, that's one of those difficult ones to answer, because obviously from my point of view, I want to see Alec playing more. So it depends where the manager sees the future for Alex Lowry. Because the way that Malik can play, obviously, he can play in that number 10 role right behind the striker. He can play wide right or wide left, which I think most people accept now probably isn't where you get the best out of him. He seems to be best in the central areas where he can get a bit more freedom to play. So it depends how they're going to utilise Alex and how they're going to utilise Tillman. I think it's entirely feasible that they could play in the same team, just like Tillman and Hadji can play in the same team. Just like sort of Cantwell and Tillman and Raskin can all play in the same team. It depends how aggressive the manager wants to be. But there's so much attacking talent. I mean, you see everybody fit in that squad. There's a lot of quality there. And like the manager on Saturday has obviously said that he's going to make changes. So it would be interesting. It might be that we get to see Alex Lowry starting Saturday. It might be that Hadji comes in and starts and plays 60 minutes and Tillman drops out. But this is what the manager's got now. He's got all these options that he can look at. So yeah, like it's interesting. I'm looking forward to Saturday's game, and then obviously the week after that, I think it's Partick Thistle in the Cup. So I would imagine we'll see changes for that game as well. So this could be a time that the manager
can I just pull up a comment, William, if that's all right? Sorry to interrupt. Chloe McPhee, I knew he was a big supporter of this podcast, so I would just like to let you all know that my dad, Max, who often phoned in, I remember Max phoning in, and would always try to be the first caller, passed away in December. I'm gutted to hear that. I loved Max's phone calls, Chloe, and myself and everybody at the Rabble. We send our deepest condolences to yourself and the family, and we're all gutted to hear that news. So I'm really sorry to hear that, Chloe. And if you want to get in touch with the podcast, please do feel free. You can leave a comment on this video or email rangersrabble@gmail.com. And yeah, that's really terribly sad news.
Yeah, I guess like I'm the same as Martin lost. You seen that, it's really sad. Obviously the phone-ins were great, and they still are. It's nice to know that he took time out of his life, obviously, to actually phone in and have a bit of fun with us and to speak about the club that he loved. We're obviously deeply sorry to hear that news, and just a bit like Martin, if you need to contact any of us on social media or to drop us an email or contact, just do that and we can have a private conversation. If there's anything we can do, obviously, as well, just let us know. Just like the rest is, sort of supporting Rangers makes us part of one big family. We might not always agree on every single thing that's said on podcasts or said at the football or whatever, but you know what? We all have the same love, and it's Rangers Football Club. So yeah, look, we're really sorry to hear that news, and if there's anything we can do at all, please just get in contact with us. All right, I'll come to you, Martin, on Malik. Recently, obviously, since the new manager's come in, we've probably seen a bit of an uptake on Malik. The manager clearly loves him straight away. I mean, that was clear for his first interview that he basically put a massive amount of pressure on the board to sign him almost within about 10 minutes of being in the door. But what have you seen differently from Malik since Michael Beale's come in?
Sorry, my phone's gone nuts.
Okay.
Do you know, I don't actually think, and like me, William, I like to ask the questions because I'm not very good when it comes to talking tactically about football, etc. I've seen a few people saying that, that he tries a lot more and he runs a lot more. For me, Malik is the way Malik is. Sometimes he looks ponderous and he looks as if he's not interested. And I don't think that's the case at all. I just think that's the type of player that he is, because when he does track back, he's so good at winning the ball back.
Yeah.
I personally think we're seeing better performances from Malik because we're seeing better performances from the team in general. I think that's a massive factor. No one person makes a football team. So you're seeing, I mean, we could have this same conversation about Ryan Kent. We could have this same conversation about Alfredo Morelos, John Lundstrom the other night against Hearts. When a team plays better, individual players play better. I think that's one of the big things we're seeing. And if we see Raskin come in, Cantwell come in, and they start to gel along with Malik, then you're going to see him playing even better. I don't think that much, to be fair, has changed.
Yeah, look, I think it's hard to disagree on a lot of what you said there. I think confidence plays a big part in football matches, and at the moment, we're playing a bit better, and also the performance against Hearts was probably the best we've played this season, which must be a massive boost to the players as well, in terms of, they look back at that game and think, if we can play like that most weeks, I know maybe not every team's going to be as open as Hearts were. However, if you can move the ball that well, if you can press that little bit higher, if you can put more pressure on the opposition, you're going to cause them to make more mistakes, which then gives us a higher chance of scoring more goals. And this is something the manager keeps kind of hitting about all the time. Kerr, I'll come to you on Malik. Just even these last 2, 3 or 4 games, it feels like he's become an integral part of this team, that when our best 11 is out in the pitch, he's in it. Is that fair to say now that there's other players on the outside looking in, because Malik's basically going to start every game that is important to the football club?
I think he's going to use his full squad, to be honest with you. Michael Beale will put out certain teams for certain opponents. I think Malik will be one of the players he usually uses more than others. But I just think under Michael, Malik's been told to go out and express yourself, do what you do well. Whereas under Gio, I think he was fitted into a system where he was told, that's your area of the park, you stay there. A bit like Ryan Kent was. But now they've got more freedom in their play. They interchange more the left or right or through the middle. I mean, you see you come back defensively. So I just think he's out enjoying his football. And I don't think it's a big difference in the way Malik's playing. I just think, like Michael Beale said himself, he's told him to go out and enjoy himself and express himself, and that's what he's doing. So you can see he's putting in more freedom, but he's enjoying himself, just like Ryan Kent is the other side. Both of them are enjoying themselves, and they're playing football probably the way they were taught when we were very young. Just go out and have fun, and that's what the both of them are doing, and Malik's doing it really well, and that's why we're all excited about if he signs.
You asked William, what's changed with Malik, etc., for these upturning performances. For me, it's all on the manager. Everything that we're doing now is all on the manager. The job that Beale has done since he came in is, this Rangers team is so unrecognisable. Tell you, man, I never stop getting phone calls. This team is so unrecognisable from the Gio team, and I don't want to say that everything that Gio done was wrong, etc. He got us to a European final and all that, right? But this Rangers team is playing with a completely different purpose. It's exciting to watch, etc., etc., etc. But the best thing for me, and it showed you in that Hearts game, the difference just making two signings in an area that you need to invest in is huge, because now, 100%, if you're asking me for my starting 11, Malik's in that midfield, right? But Malik knows, along with Lundstrom, Jack, Kamara, Cantwell, Raskin, Lowry, you don't play well, you're out that team. There's somebody there waiting to take your place. That for me is huge. That for me is why we've seen such an upturn in Lundstrom's performance. You've seen Jack coming on the pitch, wanting to get in and about everything. Kamara played out his skin. Lowry came on for a couple of minutes, and he's trying to make things happen. So you've got that competition for places. You've got a Malik Tillman firing at his best. You've got a Ryan Kent going at his best. You've got a Ryan Jack going at his best. Massive, massive for this football club.
Yeah. I'll touch on a point we made by McCleary95. Said this a few days ago, and I think it was William that answered. But now we have signed Raskin, and if Kent does re-sign, do you think that will be a big point whether we pay for Malik or not? My personal opinion is, I think the manager wants everyone. I think the manager wants Kent to re-sign, and he wants to sign Tillman. And I think if you ask any football manager, they want as many good players in their squad as humanly possible. And if we're able to get the deal for Malik done, then I think it's an absolute no-brainer. But I'll come to Kerr on it as well. Kerr, I take it, when you look at the potential of Ryan Kent re-signing, which I think obviously most people now would like to see that happening, given his kind of uptake in performances since Michael Beale's come back in. And if we do add Malik, is there a place in the squad for all three of those guys?
Of course there is. There's football's... It's a long season of football. You've got all these different tournaments, so we need the best players we can. We can't just have one for each position. We maybe need two. But like I said to you the other day, Willie, I still think there's some will be one or two players that will leave it. We don't feel will leave. It's not the ones in the tip of your tongue and say he goes or he goes. I think the squad will be trimmed, as in for, because I think the wage budget is well over what we're wanting. But I think Mike would do it in a way where he still get the best players at his disposal, but I think one or two might go, and maybe if he can get money for Bornham, money for Lundstrom, who are on the last year's, Kamara. So I think one or two will go, but I think Malik will come in. Hopefully Ryan Kent stays. I don't see Morelos staying, so I think another striker will come in. Roof maybe be told try and get another club. If we can get him one, he'll under off the books, and we all know. I mean, the manager said it himself. We need a keeper, so I think they will be changing this summer. I think maybe 4 or 5 in and 4 or 5 out, but I think they have to trim the wage bill, because I think it's over what they're wanting it to be.
But that Hearts game just shows you how important it is that you freshen up your squad. For me, I know I might be making too much of a big deal over it. It was only one game. We'll wait and see what the weekend brings and further on. But look at that performance for the players, just with a couple of players coming in the door. It's massive that you refresh your squad.
Yeah. Right. We'll touch on another comment from McCleary. He's obviously asking about the goalkeeping situation. I'll come to you on that, Martin. Well, I think the manager's
I
already
don't
made
know.
it. Yeah, what I was going to say is, like, the manager's obviously made it quite clear that he intends to sign a goalkeeper in the summer. Like, he basically told people that, and I think it was the last day of the transfer kind of deadline, or the day before it potentially, where he said, we will be signing a new goalkeeper in the summer, and we'll be signing a new centre half, and we'll be signing a new number 9. Now, that's only for the players that he wants. I think as Kerr's already touched on there, if somebody comes in the summer and offers us good money for a Ben Davies or a John Lundstrom, etc., that then changes the whole parameters of the transfer window, because you then maybe need to go out and replace those players that maybe you're not anticipating losing. So if you look at the current goalkeeping situation, I take it it's fairly obvious to you that come the summer we are going to need a new number 1.
100%. But just quickly on that point you made there about, look, if somebody comes in for somebody that we don't want to sell or we're not expecting to sell, that's Ross Wilson's job to already have players looked up and scouted for coming in. But if we're not doing that, what's Ross Wilson doing? And I would imagine he is. Well, I'm not going to sit here and just slag him for no reason. You know, if Ben Davies has been phenomenal, has been fantastic, one of the best players at the club at the moment. So there's obviously going to be eyes on him if he can stay injury free. So the club have got to be looking and going, right, okay, well, if we already want another centre back, then we've got to keep our eyes open and see what else is out there. And if they're not doing that, they're not doing their job correctly. Goalkeeping situation. McGregor will be finished at the end of the season. He won't stay after the end of the season. John McLaughlin, it's a horrible one for me because I defended him after the debacle against Celtic because it was one game. It was just one game. He then came in and we won a semi-final with him in goal. But then I've seen a couple of performances from him that tells me that he's very much a confidence goalkeeper. And if one or two mistakes are made, I think he struggles to get his heat back into the game, which for me, playing for Rangers, you're not always going to be under that pressure, but you need to be confident in your own ability all the time because you might have to make that one or two saves a game. If we're playing against the team from the other side of the city and you're low in confidence, you're not playing well, the games can be on the edge of a knife or whatever the terminology is, and you have to be confident and you have to be at the top of your game. And I've changed my opinion on McLaughlin now. I don't think he is good enough. So yeah, we will definitely be signing a goalkeeper, at least one, because Robbie McCrory, we've been told Robbie McCrory is going to get a chance. Where does that chance come in? Because if you're only giving him Partick Thistle, that's not telling you anything. If you're putting Robbie in when you're rotating the rest of the team anyway, that's telling you nothing. Absolutely nothing. Yeah. So who do we go for? I've got no idea. I do not keep across teams from other leagues. I know Kerr does. I know Kerr shouts about Freddie Woodman all the time. I honestly don't know. I genuinely don't know where we're going to go with that, but I'm pretty sure Beale and Wilson are keeping across it, and I've got full trust in Beale and what he's doing at the football club, so I'm not as worried as what I probably once was.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, like the Robbie one, he was obviously out of contract, and the club could have let his contract run down, and he could have left in the summer. They obviously chose to negotiate a new contract with Robbie. Basically, he's been the third choice goalkeeper. Then you've got Kieran Wright behind him, who's the fourth choice. You've then got Lewis Budanauskas. You've got Jay Hogarth, who's out on loan. You've got Jacob Pizikis. You've got Mason Munn. You've got Sam Kane. You've got Alfie Halliwell. So there's a long kind of list of goalkeepers sitting at the football club from kind of under 16s right the way through to the first team. If I look at Kieran Wright, first of all, I think Kieran's contract's up in the summer. I would be surprised if he renews. Lewis Budanauskas is out of contract in the summer. I think it will depend what league the club are playing in next season. It will depend on if Lewis re-signs or not. Robbie's obviously signed until 2025. I think John McLaughlin's 2024 and Alan McGregor's 2023. So to me, there doesn't feel like any stability in the goalkeeping position, and it's something that probably needs to be rectified this summer. And if we are going to sign a new goalkeeper, it has to be somebody for the next 3 to 5 years. It's somebody they've got to have their eye on who has a long-term future at the football club, because having this discussion every year is not good, to be honest. And Alan's been a great servant to this football club. Nobody should be on having a go at Alan for for what he's done. You know, even coming back second time around, he's been magnificent for Steven Gerrard. He was a huge part of the team winning the league. He's been a huge part of our performances in Europe. He single-handedly saved us in Europe on a number of occasions with some of his performances. And look, he's 41 years old now. I'm 40 years old. I can be like up at my bed in the morning and go to work some days. Do you know what I mean? So the fact he gets up and goes to training every day and then can still put in good performances at the top tier of Scottish football shows you that he's still got that desire to play. So,
Alan McGregor at his pomp was a world-class goalkeeper, and he was probably the best goalkeeper in Britain at one point as well. He was a phenomenal goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Like you say, William, he's been a massive servant to this football club. The fact that he's even in a debate with Gorham tells you how good a goalkeeper he is, right? It doesn't matter who you think's better. The fact that you can name him in the same breath as Andy Gorham tells you just how good a goalkeeper Alan McGregor is. He's just stayed a season too long. Was it his choice? I don't know. Did the club come to him and go, look, Alan, we know that you were going to retire, etc., etc. Could you help us out for another year? See, if that's any of us, we're all saying, of course, we will help you out.
I know, and that's maybe his fault that he's agreed to stay for an extra year when maybe he felt his body maybe shouldn't have done it. Because, you know, the fact is that we did that at the end of last season in the cup final, and I think most people felt obviously that was the end care, didn't they? When they seen him coming off for obviously John McLaughlin, I think probably 99% of people felt that was Alan McGregor going to retire and he was going to finish a winner at Rangers.
I think Alan McGregor probably felt that as well, Willie. And then obviously we asked him to come back, and being a Rangers man and thinking I can go back for one more season. But in hindsight, it was the greatest move. But to me, it was a cheap option. But there's not a lot you can do now. But I was talking about one goalie. We need two goalies. We don't need one. We need two. I'm not saying the second choice goalie doesn't have to be somebody that's young. It's somebody who's experienced. I don't think John McLaughlin's good enough. That's just my opinion. Right. But we need two keepers, I would say, but especially one. But the one goal we need, it depends what you're going to pay money. If you're going to pay money on them, or in the summer, there's a lot of goalkeepers out of contract. And Michael will know that himself, what I'm doing in England. There's a lot of keepers down there out of contract. Or will they go abroad and bring a keeper? I mean, I know a lot of people have mentioned keepers you've seen at a World Cup. And so it depends. Would you use money? Maybe it was earmarked for James Sands to bring a keeper in.
Yeah.
To spend 3, 4, 5 million a goalie. To me, your goalkeeper's one of the most important positions in the side, because they can save you 9 to 12 points a season with the saves they make. McGregor's done it in the past. Andy Gorham was famous for it. So we can't get it wrong again, because you see what it can cost you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And being a Rangers goalkeeper is totally different being a goalkeeper for Hearts, Aberdeen, because I know people mention Zander. Zander to me would be a good squad keeper, but I don't know if he'd be number one, because there's different types of keeper where you like it when you watch football. There's guys who can make 9, 10, 12 saves a match, but let 3 or 4 goals in.
Yeah.
And they get man of the match because they're good keepers when the pressure's on them. But at Rangers, a lot of time, our keeper's not doing a lot. They're basically a spectator. The ball comes back to them, they play it out with their feet and watch everything else going on in front of them. Then maybe a set piece comes in or a shot comes out and they have to save it. So a lot is about concentration and being able to pull off a save when you have to do it, because you're not under siege constantly. So I think it's a different mindset being the goalkeeper for Rangers. So I don't know who they're going to bring in. Obviously, I like Woodman, but I think he's got a clause in his contracts, maybe about 5 or 6 million. His wages wouldn't be an issue for us, but I think the signing him would be, as in money-wise. Obviously, Jack Butland was mentioned by a few people. He signed for Man United, but it's only until the end of the season. So you don't know his situation is there. Would you go for an experienced keeper, early 30s? Or do you go for a younger keeper, maybe mid-20s? I don't know what way they're going to go, but they need to bring somebody in. I know the boy at QPR he worked with, Michael, is out of contract. I think it's either this season or the following season. So I don't know if they go back for that chap. And get Sonny Deng, I think his name is.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. I mean, that's something that keeps coming up in a lot of the chats at the moment, is Liam Kelly. Obviously, he was a homegrown player. He came through at Rangers. He's obviously moved to Livingston, then to QPR, then back up to Motherwell, who are obviously not having the best season overall. Liam's an excellent shot stopper. I really enjoyed watching him at the academy. That would be an interesting show if we lose John McLaughlin and Alan McGregor, because that could happen this summer. You know, so John McLaughlin at this stage of his career might feel like he should be a first choice somewhere, so he might be allowed to move on as well. So at that point, you probably want to replace him with somebody that's Scottish or somebody that's been homegrown at Rangers. Now, at the moment, the obvious person in that is Liam Kelly, because he's playing in the Premier League and he's there. Unless you move Robbie up to be number 2, which obviously he'll count as Scottish and the homegrown. So it's interesting.
I think Liam has been at Rangers. You see, he brings obviously helps with the Scottish quota, and he has a decent keeper. And being a number 2, that would be fine for me, because Liam can step in at times and play really well. I don't know. Do you think he would go back to, because he's a first choice keeper now? Do you think he'd want to go back to?
Well, that's the difficulty in it as a goalkeeper, because you have to accept if you move to a club like Rangers, there's going to be huge competition for places. At Motherwell, I think it's basically he's the first choice goalkeeper, and the guy that's behind him is accepting of the fact he's the backup. Whereas I think Liam's mindset, I mean, I actually seen him recently at the Rangers St Mirren under-16 match, because he's got a younger brother, I think it is, that plays for St Mirren. So he was obviously there watching him play. I think Liam would be an excellent pickup, but I don't think he would be a first choice goalkeeper. I think he would need to be accepting that he's probably going to be the backup behind who would become the first choice. And it's interesting that you talk about the English market, because clearly Celtic have obviously done that with Joe Hart, and it seems to have worked out reasonably well for them to a point. And it's something that we should look at. You know, there's a lot of good goalkeepers that are sitting as backup in England, or even first choice, like guys who are probably more than capable of being a first choice goalkeeper somewhere, but the money they've been paid to be the first choice goalkeeper is absolutely crazy. And so they're quite happy to sit there and pick up their £1 million or £2 million. And that's where Rangers almost need to say to these guys, look, if you come up here, you can be our first choice. You'll get to play in European competition. You'll be challenging for league titles. You've got the chance of winning cups. You know, you're going to play in front of 50,000 fans every other week. And this is something that a goalkeeper needs to want. And you probably need to walk away from some of the money that you're earning. So that's really up to the individual. But I do think we will sign either a Scottish or an English goalkeeper this summer. I really do. I don't think we'll sign a foreign goalkeeper personally. I think, like the way that we have generally signed goalkeepers over the last kind of 10 plus years, it has basically been British-based goalkeepers, and I think we will stick to that. I don't know if there's an outstanding Scottish goalkeeper there at the moment that we come in and automatically take the jersey and become first choice. Obviously, we had Ross in the pod, and he was very strong on Xander. And I think Xander's done well since he's come in for the injury to Craig Gordon. And I think he made some good saves, against Rangers as well. But is Xander good enough to be Rangers number 1? That's like a debate that we could have on another morning Rabble, I'm sure, because it could take half an hour to go through that.
I think with Xander, it's like about me people on a bit shiny. I think that boat sailed, because the time to get him is when they were free agents.
Yeah.
You don't want to miss somebody in a free agency and then go out and having to pay 2, 3, 4 million for them. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what I've got every right to demand that, because he's their player. Do you know that way? So I think that, like I say, that ship may have sailed. So I think there will be keepers in the summer who are out of contract, like you say. There's keepers in England who second and third choices that could come up here and do really well. But obviously, hopefully the club's got a list of keepers that we can go through and see who's available, because Michael said himself he needs a goalkeeper. But the defence of the goalkeeper they can trust as well. I'm not saying they don't trust Al McGregor, but just because of what's happened in the past, you'll be changing goalkeepers quite a lot, and then John make mistakes and I'll make mistakes. The defence sometimes do get nervy when cross balls come in, because they don't expect, is the keeper coming? Is the keeper not coming? Do you know that way? So we need somebody, the defenders and the keeper, can just trust each other and they play constantly, see this chopping and changing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's maybe a debate we'll have next week is the number 1 position at Rangers. And so anybody that's in the chats, if you can think of a new goalkeeper, or you want to do some homework over the weekend, we'll probably do it on Monday or Tuesday. So if you can do your homework and let us know who you think we can go after, we can obviously maybe look at these things ourselves as well. We'll maybe bring some names to the table. That's not to say that Rangers have got any interest in what we're going to say, clearly, but it's just maybe some ideas that we can put together. There's, You know, there's keepers in the English Championship, maybe backup goalkeepers in the English Premier League. We can have a look at the Scottish goalkeepers that are out there right now. Are any of them good enough to be Rangers number one? We can have that debate next week. But thanks again for joining us. It's very much appreciated. We've hit the 40-minute mark for the first time on the Morning Rabble. So we'll let you go for today, but we'll look forward to seeing you again next week. So thanks very much for joining us and take care.